Richard Dawkins is a man on a mission. He thinks anything to do with religion is mumbo-jumbo, and sometimes for good reason. He doesn't mince his words, neither does he care much who he upsets or appears to ridicule along the way. But has he finally met his match? It was Italian scientists that started all this. For the first time, they replicated one of the unique characteristics of the image on the shroud. To do so, they had to use a specific form of UV radiation. So far, no known conventional technique has been able to explain the extreme superficial nature of the image. Richard, you leapt into print to say, "The new evidence amounts to yet another argument from personal incredulity. The Italian scientists cannot understand how it could have been faked. By contrast, the carbon-14 evidence that the shroud's linen is much too young to be the shroud of Jesus is rock solid." These words of yours jarred with me for two reasons. First, because not just the Italian scientists have been unable to find a medieval way of replicating the image, but nobody has. And the second is that the carbon-14 test that you base your claim on is no longer quite as rock solid as you think.
With the radiocarbon measurements and with all of the other evidence which we have about the shroud, there does seem to be a conflict in the interpretation of the different evidence. And for that reason, I think that everyone who's worked in this area, the radiocarbon scientists and all of the other experts, need to have a critical look at the evidence that they've come up with in order for us to try to work out some kind of a coherent story that fits and tells us the truth of the history of this intriguing cloth.
Next time somebody tells you something that sounds important, think to yourself, is this the kind of thing that people probably know because of evidence? Or is it the kind of thing that people only believe because of tradition, authority, or revelation? And I was particularly trying to warn her, trying to guard her against various wrong ways of thinking that you know something, such as tradition. You should never say, our people have always believed X, so you should believe X. Authority. You should never say, Professor so-and-so believes X, therefore you should believe X.
I couldn't agree with you more, but surely that's what you're doing. You're appealing to the authority of that carbon-14 test done decades ago. And I can tell you from personal experience, it's assumed a kind of traditional status. It's become tradition for any skeptic, when faced with new evidence about the shroud, to dismiss it on the basis of the traditional truth, in quotes, that the shroud must be medieval. Few subjects have been studied quite as closely as the TURIN shroud, and every aspect of its image analysed in great detail. But so far, there's nothing that sheds any light on how it could have been fabricated. In contrast, there's much pointing to its authenticity as a Jewish burial shroud that wrapped the corpse of a victim of a Roman crucifixion. This challenge can offer you the best available evidence, including the recent high-definition images. Data from examinations is now available, and much of it in peer-reviewed publications. All can be at your disposal. I would imagine that your natural scientific curiosity must make this challenge appealing for its own sake. This challenge isn't necessarily a battle between the forces of light and dark, believers and non-believers. Amongst those that regard the shroud as a serious subject for academic study and take the claims for its authenticity quite seriously are those from all shades of belief, including none at all. But it is true to say that among those who hold the shroud dear, and I include myself, the shroud, its image, and its remarkable survival down the centuries holds out the prospect of something of real significance. If you do accept this challenge, and I'm sure lots of us would be very pleased if you do, you and your foundation could be the ones that finally solve the problem, crack the mystery, explain how this remarkable image could be a medieval creation. And once you've done that, well, we can all go home. But in the meantime, and if you don't accept this challenge, then I think it behoves you to grant the man on the shroud the respect he deserves.